All right, so today we're going to do a deep dive on something pretty interesting. Amish chicken farming.
Sounds fascinating, yeah.
Yeah, and I gotta admit, when you sent me that YouTube video, I mean, I pictured like maybe a few chickens just kind of pecking around a farm,
Yeah.
like a small family farm situation, but
Yeah.
this was like a whole industry. I mean,
Yeah.
was
Way more than I was expecting, for sure.
yeah, it was like a full-blown poultry industry, and they're doing it in a way that it seems to really blend like tradition and modern practices in a way it was cool to see.
You think of the Amish as,
Mm-hmm.
sort of frozen in time in a certain way
Mm.
with their lifestyle, but this actually reveals like a very dynamic and agricultural system
Yeah.
that's adapted to modern demands while staying true to their values.
Absolutely. So let's talk chickens.
Yeah.
So the video highlighted how important it is to like choose the right breed for the job, right? It's not just grabbing any old chicks, or they're really carefully selecting these breeds based on whether they're raising them for eggs or meat or even both.
Yeah, they have specific ones for each.
Right. Yeah.
Rhode Island Reds and Cornish Cross are two that really jumped out at me in the video as they're really playing specific roles.
Yeah. Rhode Island Reds, those are some serious egg layers. I mean, the video mentioned they can lay like 250 to 300 eggs a year from just one hen. Like I'm trying to wrap my head around how many eggs that is.
Yeah, that's a lot of omelets.
I know, it makes you really think about those. You know those like supermarket cartons in a whole new way?
Totally. And beyond the egg laying, they're also known as like a really friendly breed.
Yeah.
So if you have like a smaller family farm where there's a lot of interaction, they're a good choice. But then on the other end of the spectrum, you have the Cornish Cross, and that one's what we got, become like the go-to for meat production.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is they reach market size in like 6 to 8 weeks.
6 to 8 weeks. I had no idea chickens could grow that fast.
Yeah.
Wow. No wonder they're the stars of the meat industry. But it does make you wonder, like, how do the Amish balance this demand for like fast-growing chickens with their commitment to,
Sustainability.
Yeah, good question. And that's where the breed rotation comes in. So they
Okay.
intentionally mix different breeds in their flocks, and that promotes genetic diversity and disease resistance. So it's essential for a healthy flock in the long run.
That makes a lot of sense. Like they're kind of taking a proactive
Okay.
approach to preventing problems down the line. Speaking of prevention, I was blown away by how much thought goes into their chicken coops. I mean, forget those like basic shelters. These are practically chicken palaces.
Yeah.
Built with like reclaimed materials like old barn wood and recycled pallets.
Yeah, they get pretty fancy.
I know.
And it's not just looks. It's actually designed with the well-being of the birds in mind.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yep.
The video highlighted how important ventilation is, and of course, predator protection, no raccoon or foxes sneaking into these coops. But what really struck me was the emphasis on cleanliness. Like they're really focused on keeping those birds healthy.
Yeah, and that's essential, especially when you have a flock living in close quarters.
Yeah.
So the Amish, they're very proactive about keeping their coops clean. It's all part of the healthy and productive environment.
Yeah, okay, so this is where things get really interesting. Let's talk about chicken foods. Forget those, like bags of processed feed you find at the store. The Amish have a much more natural, almost gourmet approach.
Right, it's like a 5-star chicken restaurant.
Yeah, I know.
But yeah, they start with this base of grains like corn, wheat, and oats for the protein and the carbs.
Okay, so that's the base, but then they supplement that with something I never would have expected. Kitchen scraps.
Really?
Yeah, we're talking leftover vegetables, bread, even pasta.
Oh, wow.
It's it's a feast for these chickens.
Yeah, so they're reducing waste and also giving them all those extra nutrients.
Yeah, exactly. And it goes beyond that because then they let the chickens loose to forage. It's like they're giving them access to this incredible natural buffet where they can like peck for bugs and graze on grass and weeds. Talk about a well-rounded diet.
Yeah, it allows them to express their natural instincts.
Totally. It's a win-win for the birds and the farmers. And I bet it makes those eggs taste extra delicious. Speaking of eggs, the video mentioned this crazy statistic. A healthy hen can lay around 300 eggs per year. It's amazing how much they can produce.
They're like little egg factories.
I know. And the Amish are really keyed into the fact that like light plays a huge role in that whole process. Their coops are designed to let in tons of natural light, especially in the winter when the days are shorter.
Yeah, I noticed that in the video too, all those windows.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not just, randomly putting windows in.
No, they're very intentional.
Yeah, the light helps regulate the hen's laying cycles.
Yeah, it's like they've cracked the code for like optimal egg production. But it's not just about like, maximizing output. They're also really focused on the chicken's well-being.
Of course, a stressed or unhealthy hen is not going to lay as many eggs.
Right.
So they're really focused on a balanced environment with plenty of space,
Yeah.
the fresh air, natural diet, and just the right amount of light.
Holistic approach.
Yeah.
And they extend that same philosophy to their meat chickens, right?
Yep.
I mean, the video really emphasized how much more humane and natural their approach is compared to like large-scale commercial operations.
Yeah, it's a world of difference, these chickens are.
Oh.
Stuck in tiny cages, they have plenty of space to roam free, forage for food, and do their chicken thing.
Yeah, and I bet that free-range lifestyle results in like healthier and tastier meat.
Yeah.
It makes you think about those labels in the supermarket like free range. You wonder if they really reflect what's going on.
Right. Yeah, there's no real universal standard for that term. The Amish, though, they're truly free range.
Yeah.
The chickens have constant access to the outdoors.
Yeah. So, okay, so we've got these healthy, happy chickens living their best lives. But what about the human element, right? One thing that really stood out to me in the video was this sense of community.
Yeah.
In Amish chicken farming, it's not just an individual endeavor, it's a shared effort.
Absolutely. And you can see that on processing days, they all come together. Neighbors helping neighbors to handle the chickens. Clean, package, manage everything.
Yeah, it sounds like a mix of hard work and a social gathering, like a barn raising,
Exactly.
but with feathers flying everywhere.
Yeah, a little messier maybe.
Wow.
But it really highlights, that communal responsibility.
Yeah.
That is really strong in Amish culture.
Yeah, many hands make light work, right?
That's right.
And it really builds that sense of community. But, farming isn't always easy,
Yeah.
even with traditional methods and a supportive community. What are some of them?
Challenges. Well, like all farmers, they're at the mercy of the weather.
Sure.
Extreme heat or cold can really impact the chickens and egg production.
Right. And the video mentioned disease prevention is like a constant concern, especially with the chickens living in close proximity. And they really try to avoid antibiotics. So I imagine that's a
Oh, yeah.
constant challenge.
Yeah. They rely more on natural remedies and preventative measures.
Right.
And they're really good at spotting potential problems early.
Yeah, they're in tune with their flocks. And then you've got the ever fluctuating market, right? I mean, prices for eggs and chicken can be unpredictable.
Yeah, it makes it hard to plan.
Yeah, for sure. I bet that adds a whole other layer of complexity to their operation.
It does. But the Amish are super resilient. They've learned to adapt. They have a frugal lifestyle and plan carefully so they can weather those tough times.
Yeah, they seem to kind of roll with the punches and find a way to make it work. And they even keep their sense of humor about it. Remember that chicken joke from the video?
Oh, yeah? What was it?
Why did the chicken cross the road?
Oh, remember this one.
To check the market price on the other side.
Oh, that's a good one.
I know.
It's good to find humor in those challenges.
It really is. It's a sign of their strength. And speaking of strength, that resilience and sense of community are really key parts of what makes their whole system so sustainable. And speaking of sustainability, that was another major theme in the video. It's amazing how they've created this closed-loop system where nothing goes to waste.
They've been practicing sustainable farming for generations.
Yeah, way before it became a trendy buzzword. So let's dive into that a little bit. How do they actually achieve this level of sustainability? Well, the video mentioned crop rotation as one of their key practices.
Yeah, it's all about maintaining the soil health by rotating what they plant each year so the land stays fertile.
Right. It's a simple but powerful technique.
Yeah.
And then there's composting. They take what some people might consider a waste product, chicken manure, and they turn it into a valuable resource.
It's like the ultimate recycling program.
I know, it's pretty ingenious.
Combine it with straw and other organic matter, and they get this rich compost that goes right back onto the fields to nourish the crops.
It's a beautiful cycle of reuse and renewal. But even with all that planning in those traditional methods, I bet there are still mishaps along the way. The video mentioned a pretty funny story about a young Amish farmer.
Oh, yeah.
And a composting mishap.
I remember that one. What happened?
So he had this idea to let his chickens loose in the compost pile, thinking that they would help break it down faster.
Oh, no.
But the chickens got a little too enthusiastic,
Oh.
and the whole yard ended up covered in compost.
Oh, no, that's hilarious.
It's like a chicken compost explosion.
I know.
But it makes for a good story. It reminds us that farming is hands-on and ever-evolving, even for folks who are deeply rooted in tradition.
Yeah, you got to be ready for anything.
Right. And what's really inspiring is how they pass down these sustainable practices to younger generations.
Yeah.
The video showed kids actively participating in the farm work, learning from their elders, and absorbing this deep respect for the land and their heritage.
Yeah, it's beautiful to see that knowledge transfer.
It is. And it's remarkable how, despite being surrounded by modern technology, They choose to stick with these traditional methods.
It really speaks to their commitment to their values and their way of life.
Yeah, it's a stark contrast to the industrialized agriculture we see so much of these days, with its emphasis on efficiency and
Yeah,
maximizing output.
at all costs.
Yeah, and I think there's a valuable lesson there for all of us.
Definitely.
The Amish model reminds us that sustainability isn't just about technology or fancy labels, it's about respecting the land, the animals, and that interconnectedness of everything.
Yeah, it's a more holistic approach.
Right, and it's about community,
Right.
supporting each other, sharing resources, working together toward a common goal. The Amish demonstrate that we're stronger together, and that collaboration is key to building a more sustainable future.
Couldn't agree more.
After learning about their approach, I'm kind of wondering if we could all benefit from adopting some of those Amish principles, even if we don't live on a farm or shun modern technology.
It's about finding that balance
Yeah.
between tradition and innovation,
Right.
between individual effort and community support.
Exactly. And the Amish, they offer a powerful example of how to achieve that balance and create a way of life that's both sustainable and deeply fulfilling.
We really do.
I'm feeling inspired. I think I might need to visit an Amish market soon, or maybe even try my hand at raising a few backyard chickens.
I think that's a great idea.
I think so too.
There's nothing like experiencing it firsthand,
Right.
really connecting with where your food comes from.
Exactly. And who knows, maybe we'll even pick up a few life lessons along the way.
Always learning.
Always learning, all right.
That's what the deep dive is all about.
That's what it's all about.
And, that idea of connecting with our food that's like central to the Amish philosophy. The video ends with a thought-provoking statement. It suggests that a visit to an Amish farm can be more meaningful than a trip to the grocery store. Why do you think that is?
That's an interesting question. I think it goes back to that disconnect we often experience with our food, in a modern setting. Like at the grocery store, everything's all neatly packaged and presented, but you rarely stop to think about the journey it took to get there. But on an Amish farm, you actually witness the whole cycle. The land, the animals, the people working in harmony. And it gives you this deeper appreciation for what you're putting on your plate.
Yeah, you're not just grabbing a plastic container of something, you're seeing the whole process.
Exactly.
And it makes you think about your consumption habits, the impact of your choices. Could we learn something from the Amish about slowing down, simplifying our lives, reconnecting with the natural world?
I think so, absolutely. I mean, we could all benefit from a dose of that Amish wisdom, whether it's seeking out local, sustainably raised food, or growing some of our own produce, or just being more mindful of where our food comes from and the hands that help bring it to our tables.
It's about recognizing that our food choices have ripple effects.
Right.
They impact our health, but also the environment, the well-being of animals and people. And the Amish, with their interconnected system, they really illustrate that.
Yeah, they really do. So maybe the next time we're craving those farm fresh eggs, we skip the supermarket aisle and head to a local farmer's market. Or who knows, maybe we even take the plunge and raise a few backyard chickens ourselves.
Nah, I love that idea.
Right?
It's a small step, but it's a step towards a more conscious and sustainable way of living.
Exactly. And who knows, maybe we'll even pick up a few more chicken jokes along the way.
You never know.
Well, I think we've reached the end of our deep dive into the world of Amish chicken farming. It's been quite an eye-opener.
It really has. It's amazing how much we can learn from something as seemingly simple as raising chickens. The Amish, they offer us a powerful model for sustainable living. And a reminder that true progress isn't always about what's new, but about what endures.
So to our listeners, as you go about your day, keep those lessons in mind. Maybe you'll be inspired to explore local, sustainably raised food options, or even just take a moment to appreciate that intricate web of life that sustains us all.
And who knows, maybe you'll even catch the chicken raising bug yourself.
Yeah.
Until next time, keep diving deep and keep those questions coming.
It's funny when you think about it, the Amish approach to chicken farming is almost like a time capsule,
Yeah.
Preserving this way of life that's becoming so rare.
Yeah, it really is. In a world that's obsessed with speed and efficiency, they've chosen to do things differently, prioritizing sustainability and community and a connection to nature. And those chickens are kind of like ambassadors of those values.
Yeah, I like that. That's a beautiful way to put it. It's not just about, producing eggs or meat. It's about a whole way of life that's kind of woven into those practices.
Yeah, and I think that's what resonates with people. There's this growing desire for a more mindful and sustainable and connected way of living. People are looking for alternatives to that industrialized food system. And the Amish model shows us what's possible when we prioritize values over just, churning out as much as we can.
So what can we learn from them? How can we apply some of these principles to our own lives? Even if we're not ready to trade in our cars for a horse and buggy.
Well, I think it starts with awareness. Understanding why they make the choices they do. And then we can make more conscious decisions ourselves. Supporting local farmers, finding sustainably raised products, even just growing a few herbs on your windowsill. It all makes a difference.
Yeah, it's about reconnecting with the source of our food,
Mm.
recognizing the care and the work that goes into it, and maybe even rediscovering that sense of community, helping each other out, building something together that's bigger than ourselves.
That's a great point. It's about finding that balance between
Yeah.
tradition and innovation, embracing what works, but always looking for ways to improve. And the Amish show us that it's possible to live in harmony with nature and with each other, creating a system that benefits everyone.
Well said. Well, I think this has been a fantastic deep dive into Amish chicken farming. I've learned a lot, and I'm feeling pretty inspired.
Me too. It's amazing how much we can learn from a topic like this. The Amish, with their traditional practices, offer a really powerful model for sustainable living, and a reminder that true progress isn't always about what's new, but about what lasts.
So, to our listeners, we encourage you to keep exploring, keep questioning, seek out those hidden gems of knowledge, and who knows, maybe you'll be inspired to start your own backyard chicken adventure, or find ways to incorporate some of those Amish principles into your own life.
Until next time, keep diving deep.